Good evening, and welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program, and thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that. I would like to start the program. Oh, by the way, this is a pre-recorded program, so there won't be any live phone calls tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit about the real foundation of our nation, which is the American family. I received this in the mail, and I really think it's a great message, so please listen. Here's a special message to parents, and I would say also to grandparents and other relatives of children. The values, teaching in today's world. Communicating your values has never been more important than it is today. And the good news is, it all begins and ends with you. When all is said and done, parents have far more influence over instilling values in their children than any other factor. Here are some simple and very important things we should all remember about values and passing them along. This brings me back to my childhood and the upbringing that I had by my parents. They taught me a lot of values, and I really treasure those, and those values have helped me, I hope, to be a better person. Okay, here we go. Get kids their sense of what's right and wrong. And yes, there is a right and wrong in this world. From people they love and respect. No one has more influence over teaching values than you do. Your input can make all the difference. When it comes to teaching values, actions always speak louder than words. Children need to see the values lived out by you. They're watching. Respect for life, respect for other people, honesty, integrity. Kids get those by watching you. Families are still the best vehicle for raising children. A loving, nurturing family unit of whatever form creates the kind of environment kids need to learn what's right from wrong and how to love themselves too. Always strive to teach your kids to love and respect themselves as children of God. A healthy love and respect for themselves is incredibly important for any child. It's also the first essential step in helping a child learn to love and respect those around him or her. I just think that's so critically important. We see so many children today who are hurting for love and attention and respect and caring, and we can provide that. Even if it happens to be friends and neighbors, if for some reason children are not receiving that at home. So now we will get on with, I'm going to introduce my guest, who's been fairly regular on the program, Don Tessier from St. Albans. Welcome.
Good evening.
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Now, I would like to know, Don, what is at the top of your list to things you want to talk about?
Well, I think the number one thing in most Americans' minds right now is the injustice that happened in San Francisco to Kate, okay, when they came back with that verdict. And the other thing I want to talk about is Benghazi, the same situation, where the mastermind of that situation, when federal court, he didn't get charged with murder when he was the mastermind of that thing there. But let's talk about Kate, where...
Okay, Kate Steinle.
Steinle, yeah, because, that was injustice, and that this is, I cannot believe in my heart how that ever happened. Now, I know they're going to deport this guy, and because the ISIS...
After they jail him, right?
Yeah, well,
we pay for his lodging.
Right, but he will be deported. And the last thing I would tell him when we deport him, if we ever catch you again, we're going to shoot you. And that would be a good deterrent to keep him where he is, because if he knows the consequences would be death instantaneously, he probably won't come across that border again. I hate to be that coarse, but how would you like to lose your daughter for your son or a family member to a situation, and he did not get the punishment he deserved.
Well, Don, these things are happening
Yeah.
because we are allowing them to happen. We have a Congress that is reluctant to fund the building of the southern wall. I know there's a start on it, but that thing should be going up immediately.
Well, you know, I agree the wall will be a deterrent, but if they knew when they come across here, all right, and they got caught, they would be sentenced to hard labor, all right, consequences, instead of putting them in jail or releasing them. Right? If that would trickle down into Mexico, Honduras, and all these other countries, that if you get caught, look what would happen if they got caught in North Korea. All right, they'd instantaneously would go to jail. All right, and they would hard labor camp. I mean, I don't want to be a humanitarian with these people, but they need to know the consequences of not coming in this country legally. There is. Now, with hard labor is that they would work doing something that they did not like to do. All right, we'd feed them, take care of their health and stuff like that. It's not like we're going to let them die, but we'd make it uncomfortable for them. So, but now they go in jails where air conditioning, they have TV, they have all this good stuff, you know, which it's almost like a country club to them.
Send them to Guantanamo.
Well, Guantanamo, I mean...
Oh, that's pretty nice, too.
It is. We spent millions of dollars for a soccer field and things like that. I mean,
what is wrong with us?
I know, we're a
well,
bunch
that was
of
under
dummies.
the Obama administration.
Right, okay.
We're going to do things differently now. We need people to know. You make a great point about consequences for your actions.
Right.
And the thing that troubles me the most is that we are allowing so many things to happen, or we have been, in this country that are wrong.
Right.
There is a right and a wrong. There is a law, right?
Yeah, when this guy was caught 5 times with 7 felonies, and one of them is he couldn't own a gun, all right, so that he should have been, the consequences should have been even more because he broke the law he killed a girl, all right, but he broke the law by having a gun.
And by coming here.
That's right. So the other one is one of my favorites, school tax.
Okay.
Now, I think everybody's been reading about it, but prepare yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Your school tax will be going up. I believe they're talking about 9 cents a hundred.
I think it's 7 to 9 cents.
Well,
depending on.
Well, I'm going with the 9 because 7
Okay.
is a bogus number. Because I'm willing to bet you a beer. If you
I don't drink beer.
Okay. Well, I know.
Never
Red
mind.
label. Red label. It will be 9 cents or better.
Well, the reason I say 7 to 9, Don, is because I believe, and I could be wrong, that it depends on whether how you pay your taxes, whether it's based on your income or your property value. And also, it may make a difference if you are second homeowner.
True.
You know, the rates vary.
They're higher usually than the
Yes,
homestead.
businesses and second homeowners have a higher rate than a homeowner. But
well, my point being is, why is it going up when our student population is now down to 81,000?
what an interesting question. Yeah. Well, the thing is, Don, the population of the students has been going down since 1997. We've lost close to 30,000 students in those years, 97, 07, 17, 20 years. And why is that happening?
Well, first of all, as we all know, the smart people are leaving the state of Vermont. Not only are the older people leaving the state of Vermont for southern states where they don't tax their pensions and their Social Security, younger families are going down there because the cost of living is so much less. And, you know, I like winter because I like to ski, but down there, a lot of people don't like snow up here, so they're moving south for better climate.
Well, even if they like the snow, if they're pushed to the point where they're looking at their finances and they're saying, wait a minute, I'm paying taxes here on Social Security, and I'm paying state income taxes, etc. You know, and high property taxes,
Mm-hmm.
where, as you've said before, in Tennessee, your property taxes could be maybe 1/10 of what they are here.
Yeah, and Dave McWilliams had that letter from those people who were saying exactly what I said. So to substantiate the fact that the cost of living down there and the taxes are less.
And so that's a motivation.
Yep.
You know, as you age, especially, you might be more on a fixed income, but also you want to have enough money left over to enjoy your waning years, your last years.
That's correct.
So, okay.
And the last one before I let you go is this new tax relief thing that was passed in Congress. Now they're working on it to fine tune it, so people saving money. Our people in Congress, Pat Leahy, Peter Walsh, and Bernie Sanders, are all upset about the fact that they're saying it's going to increase the debt by $3.3 trillion, which is baloney. And right there, and here's my second paragraph. This didn't seem to bother them during the Obama years when he raised the debt ceiling.
Doubled the debt.
That's right.
$10 trillion.
So these, and when I say this, I say it with love. They're hypocrites. All right, these three guys, they're hypocrites. All right, and one other thing that just brought to, they're talking, because I did call Pat Leahy's office about this tax bill.
Good.
And when I heard on the TV, and I didn't call back, that Chuck Schumer would okay them to vote. And I'm saying, whoa, wait a minute. I'm a legislator from Vermont. I was elected by the people of Vermont. I can vote the way I want. Chuck Schumer can't tell me how to vote. But that's what they do, lock and step. All right?
Absolutely.
And so when they go along with Chuck Schumer and all those people out in California and Illinois, the real leftists, they're doing a disservice to the citizens of Vermont. We sent them to represent us, not to follow the rules of a guy in New York, Chicago, or California. And they should be called out on that. They should vote their conscience, not what somebody tells them. They don't have enough brains to do what they're supposed to do for the citizens of Vermont. So some of that stuff that they vote is not good for us, but they vote across party lines, and they should be called out on it.
I agree. I can't agree more. Well, I'm wondering, Bernie Sanders and Peter Welch are up for re-election. I'm wondering, folks, who's going to run against them?
Well, I saw today, and I didn't happen to have it timed right, but there's a couple of people I think that are going to be running. One person I know is going to be running against
Peter Welch?
Bernie Sanders.
Really?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Yep.
That's good news.
And now Bernie Sanders' stepdaughter is running for mayor of Burlington.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I met her.
And she says, I'm not going to use Bernie, yada, yada, yada. Well,
uh-huh. Yeah. What are your principles?
here's a second generation or third generation going on the doles and having taxpayers pay their salary.
Well,
anyway.
first of all, the people in Congress, and I have to say, not just the Democrats, but all of them, are so good at protecting their own interests. They don't have to abide by the same laws that they create for the rest of us, right, for the lowlings. And I think it's time that we, the people, folks, step up and say, hold on here. You know, you're not a king, you're not a queen, you're an elected official.
To represent us.
They're sent there to do what's right for this country. You take an oath to protect, honor, and protect the Constitution of the United States of America, which provides for a lot of protections and opportunities and rights for the people of this country, the citizens of this country. And it's time that we hold them accountable. But because we don't stand up, pay attention to what's going on, we need to form a community, a group, just like the Democrats do. They have a group for everything, except that people like George Soros, the multi-billionaire from Bulgaria, who hates this country,
why doesn't he just move back?
Because he's out to destroy this country.
You think he might hate? He wants to destroy us for some reason.
And if you think for a minute that one person with his goals and his money and his contacts, he's buying support. He's paying people to rise up and riot. These signs that are all printed, who's paying for that?
That's right.
These people coming off the streets are not paying for the printing of those things, okay? Who's busing them in?
Yeah.
That costs money.
Yeah.
All right? I believe that Obama and company, all of his organizations, the open, what is it? The open something, I'll find it. Oh, maybe I won't find it.
Well, while you were looking, when you get there, we talk about President Obama.
Yeah.
President Obama this week in Paris said the U.S. is out of leadership. Okay? I guess he forgot the last 8 years that he was in the White House.
Yeah.
He's picking on Donald Trump. He says, we're lacking leadership in the United States. Well, you go down and talk to some people on the street and ask them if that's true or not. The people I hang around with would disagree with him 100%. The leadership that he did was, he just showed up for work but didn't do anything for 8 years. He was always planning his trip to Hawaii or Martha's Vineyard, is my opinion.
Well, I think he did a lot. His minions did a lot, okay? All of the socialists that he put into positions in government ruined the VA system.
Mm-hmm.
Veterans, 22 veterans a day were taking their own lives because they couldn't even get an appointment for their medication or treatment or even to see a doctor. That's disgraceful.
Right.
Just disgraceful. And at the same time, under Obama, what happened to our military? We have so many planes now that are grounded. They can't fly them because they're not fit for flying. They're not safe. We have diminished manpower in the military, and the naval fleets need a lot of work, and that all takes money. So we need to decide as a nation, the leadership of the nation, thankfully under Donald Trump now, have to decide how are we going to, Ronald Reagan always said, peace through strength.
That's right.
What did Obama do? He doubled our national debt, making us a vulnerable nation, from 10 to almost $20 trillion in just his 8 years, okay? That makes us vulnerable. And then weakened the military. That makes us vulnerable as a nation of people. Not building the wall or being loose on immigration and letting people from wherever come into this country, and now forming sanctuary cities, or they have been actually, to protect the criminals. And who's protecting? And there's a lot of anti-law enforcement rhetoric out there too. Another policeman was just shot.
I saw that this morning.
Many of them now.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are, but
it's a lot. There's a lot. And another one you forgot was North Korea, that he let do what they did. For the last two administrations, and George W. Bush is one of them, didn't do anything to address North Korea. We should have done that back when MacArthur got fired, back under Truman, all right, when he said the 38th parallel during the war. I know you weren't born by then, so you probably don't remember that. But anyways.
Nice try.
But anyways, I was a teenager back during that conflict. It wasn't a war, it was a conflict back then. And MacArthur said, okay, he was just like Patton, said, now let's go get the Russians. He said, now let's go get North Korea. We wouldn't have that problem today if we'd listened to our military leaders. And we wouldn't have had the problem in Russia if we'd listened to our military leaders. But anyways, yeah, you're right. I mean, they kept kicking the can down the road, and now it's a real bad situation.
Yes, it is. It's very tenuous. This young Kim Jong-un, whatever his name is.
Rocket Man, just say Rocket Man. Rocket Man.
That's so funny. It's scary, but it's funny. They kill their own. I mean, they don't.
They're starving to death over there.
Starving their people.
Did you see on TV the other day when that guy defected that soldier.
Yes.
They took him to the hospital. He had parasites inside of his body.
Oh.
Okay,
Ouch.
parasites. So that tells me his diet wasn't all that great.
Probably eating whatever he could find.
That's right. And
Oh,
so their
God.
people are.
He was in the military.
He was in the military, all right. And luckily, that South Korean guy drugged him across the parallel, and now they put him in hospital, and they found parasites within his body. I mean, those people are really suffering. Humanitarian, we should go kick the you-know-what out of him and free those people so they have a better life.
It's going to take a lot of rebuilding. You know, we have so many problems in this country ourselves, and we'll get back to him in a minute. Well, maybe we should stay there for a minute. I don't know how, I'm not a strategist for these types of international events going on, but I think the important thing for this country has always been to be strong. When you have the military might behind you, you don't threaten, you don't use it unless it's absolutely necessary, but because you have it, it creates an environment of respect.
Right. It's like the giant and the little guy. If
Yeah.
you're the giant, the little guy's not going to jump on you.
Exactly.
You're right.
And that is how Kim Jong-un is acting.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's the all-powerful. And they march their army. Do you ever look at those soldiers marching? They're all skinny as a rail.
Yeah.
I don't know why that...
Well, most of the people there are starving to death. He does take care of the military, but most of them, I can't figure out why some of those generals just wouldn't pull the gun and shoot the guy. But anyways.
I don't know. It's you know, as the president said when he was in another country not long ago, every country needs to protect its own. All right? That's the duty, the responsibility. Create your borders. Know what your boundaries are as a nation. And we just haven't done a good job of that.
That's correct.
And there are people who have fostered the openness of the border to allow anybody and his family and brother to come here.
Well, that changed. Did you see that? But they just canceled that, what they call chain immigration, where I could bring in family members. They're doing away with that.
Well, they're allowing
certain ones.
Yeah, children, but not like the mother and father of the family, you know.
Right. Chain immigration. Well, you know, back in the day, most of us, like you said, they migrated here, but it was under a different platform.
Oh.
Okay? So we want people here, but we want people here who are going to help better this country and not come up here to get on welfare. You know, I'll help you for so many days or so many months, get you to speak English, get you in a a vocation where you can be yourself. I look at some people here who are from the Far East, and they're very wealthy people because they come over here, they stick together, they help each other, they don't go on the dole, and they build businesses, and they contribute to the community. It can be done, but some of the people want to come across, all they want to do is get on the dole and not do anything. I agree with this new travel ban that was upheld by the Supreme Court.
Thankfully.
7-2, okay? And all these liberal judges, you know, and my point on these guys, who are these guys in Hawaii, Washington State, telling us what the rest of the country can do? Because most of them are liberals that were appointed, and so they should go to jail. My feeling when they do things like that, because it's not.
If they're against the Constitution,
right? That's right. They should be
disbarred or something. Right. I agree. You mentioned a hot button for me, and that is all of these liberal judges that were appointed probably by Obama, many of them. Our current President Trump has nominated, I think it's 123 judges that Congress has refused to approve.
To confirm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what does that say?
Well, they're just trying to control of the judicial, which is the main part of our democracy.
Yep.
Because the right of law, and you got to get it tilted the wrong way.
But what I never have heard anything about. I kind of wish this were a live program, because if there was a lawyer watching, I would like to know, what in the law that says, and I'm sure there is something,
right,
that if you as an attorney illegally practice law against the Constitution, let's say, or the laws of the state, whatever, I don't know, they take an oath too. To protect the Constitution, then what are the consequences for them?
Well, our founding fathers set up checks and balances, but I think what's happened here with these judges out in different parts of the country is they're interpreting the law, and one person should not be able to do that. It should be a committee of at least 10 or 12, and majority, we've set this up, majority rules. And I'd have a hard time where some guy in Washington State makes a decision for something that's going to happen in Vermont. All right? Now, if it's 10 or 12, okay, I can probably buy it a little bit. But there's too much power in those guys' hands. And I don't know why our founding fathers didn't do something about it, because they were really conscious of the fact they didn't want a dictatorship. And that's almost like a dictatorship to me, when one person can govern and tell me what to do. That's not democracy. In my opinion.
No. As long as that lawyer is following the letter of the law, then fine. But when he forgets about the law, then, and nobody does anything about it, that's the problem.
Well, they think just because they're a judge, the president doesn't have rights. Well, the president has a lot of rights, that what he can do. When he fired Comey, okay, that was a right. He can fire certain people, and nothing can be done.
Frankly,
he's the commander-in-chief.
Frankly, I don't have anything solid to base this on, but I usually have pretty good instincts. And I've been watching what's happening with Mueller.
And an FBI.
And I don't trust that man.
Yeah, right.
I think he's a big, big problem.
Right. Well,
and he needs to go.
Well, I just want one thing here, FBI, okay, look what's happened there. They just fired a FBI guy who was on the first one with Hillary Clinton's emails and that top secret stuff,
yep,
okay, along with Comey, where he made him change the wording to gross negligence or to bad behavior.
Was he the one who wanted Comey to do that?
Yeah, he was. That's what I think I heard that on TV. All right, because I hope it's not false, fake.
Oh, no, I would doubt it. But, if your source is good.
But he's been taken off, and he was on the Hillary one, and then he was on the Trump one, conflict of interest. And most of the biggest share of the people in the FBI, and J. Edgar Hoover, you remember him? Okay, I didn't know if you're old enough.
I'm old enough.
Okay, J. Edgar Hoover would be rolling in his grave, because there was no political with him. A lot of the presidents and people didn't like him because he was a tough-nosed guy. He ran that agency like a law enforcement agency run.
Sure.
He didn't owe anybody anything. And here's these FBI guys, cooking the books and giving thousands of dollars to Hillary Clinton and protecting her and taking the law and throwing it away. So the next time an FBI comes up and tries to put handcuffs on me, they say, "Get the hang out of here." Okay, when you don't know how to even do your duty. Now, not all of them are bad.
Oh, no.
But there needs to be checks and balance in that, because that's a lot of power. When they cooking around with injustice, and as I said, Mike Flynn, okay, they put him under oath, and they didn't put Hillary under oath, and she lied like a rug, okay? So, my opinion, if I was Mike Flynn, I'd sue the federal government and the FBI, because what they did, they discriminated against him.
Guess what? If he spoke up and said, since you have put me under the gun, then you need to do the same for Hillary Clinton,
right,
his life would be at risk. because too many people died under the Clinton administration.
Well, I know that. I know that. I know that. But
I think a lot of people have been threatened.
yeah, well, hopefully we can right that ship. But
Hopefully.
anyways.
What about the recent? I have an article here about two Hondurans who were in this country illegally were just arrested in Franklin, Vermont, by ICE. They were taking English as a second language, English language learners, they call them, at the Adult Learning Center in Franklin. Franklin Grand Isle office. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. The Haston Library in Franklin. They were arrested there. I don't know what's going to happen with them, but do you think that we should be paying for people to be teaching English to illegals who come here? What are we doing?
We have to pay to go to school. All right. When I was in school, my father, all right, paid taxes to send me to school.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So if you're not a citizen and you're not a resident, why? I mean, there should be something there. If they want to learn English, they should have enough money to earn English. Why should we have to pay for their education?
Well, you mean the children of
these people here.
Oh, well, we're paying for the children of the illegals.
Oh, that's
in
it.
Vermont.
Okay. Oh, so they won't be able to talk to. Well, they'll be speaking Honduras, I guess, to their mother and father, and then speak English to you and me.
Well,
no.
I don't know if these two. I don't think. Well, I don't know. I don't know if they were working here. I think maybe they were. Maybe on one of the farms. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think taxpayer money should be going to that. That's my opinion. All right. Now, there's probably a lot of people out there listening who disagree with me.
Agree, yeah.
All right. But they should have had a sponsor. This is what happened back in the 20s and the 30s. Ellis Island. Okay.
Absolutely. Have you been there?
No, I've never been there, but I've been over it.
You must go.
It was a city within itself. It was a hospital within itself.
What a lesson.
Right. So Ellis Island, and so if I wanted to bring some people from France, okay, and my family, I sponsored them, brought them, made sure that they had this, they lived in the house, we got them a place. Nobody went on a dole.
Right. And the thing is, the people who came here in those days not only came here legally, but they were so excited to become Americans.
Citizens.
Yes. And they wanted jobs, and they wanted to be self-sufficient, and they wanted to raise their children in a good way with values. And today we don't see that. It's come and take.
Right. And the biggest one who did this, it just go right down to Barry in the granite industry. Most of those people were from Italy, and they came over from Italy. Family brought them over, and they went to work in the quarries, and were stone people and stuff like that. And then they had the mills down in Winooski. All right.
Yeah, a lot of foreigners.
Right, came there, who worked in the mills and contributed to the United States. That's the way it was supposed to work.
Right.
And then we get some people say, well, we can't really make them do that. That's not Christian-like, or whatever they call it. It's not right they have to do that. Well, when they come over here, they should be responsible for themselves, and they can go take lessons at night at some school, all right, as long as they can, and there's probably, most employers probably would help them. Of course, what happened with these Italians and all these other people, they migrated it in with the people already here who spoke English, who taught them English.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
I mean, my grandmother came here from Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather came from Norway. And my great-grandparents came from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have laws. And we're very generous with how many legal immigrants we will allow to come into this country.
There should be a percentage and a number so we can manage
There
it.
is, but the problem is that we don't enforce, or we haven't been. We're trying to now. The president's trying to protect the people of the United States. You want to talk about sanctuary cities, or do you feel?
No, well, I'm going to read to you what I wrote down this morning.
Okay.
I heard on TV, there's a congressman, and I forget where he's from, who's going to introduce a bill. And it's called a bill, all right, if in sanctuary cities, any public official who breaks the law in a sanctuary city situation will go to jail.
That means that if you're in favor as a public official, like a mayor, like Rahm Emanuel,
Attorney General. What's that guy's name down? And what's our Attorney General's name?
Jeff Sessions.
No, Attorney General in the state of Vermont. He was Donovan.
Yes,
Donovan, and he does down mayors too. And this will be held out for the chief of police in St. Albans, for example, or Burlington. All right, they will be held responsible. They'll go to jail because they're breaking the law.
Wait a minute. The police would be going to jail?
Yeah, well, yes. These chief of police they're running these sanctuary cities. Look what happened out in California.
Well,
it was the sheriff, and it was the sheriff who released that guy, and the mayor out there in San Francisco. So the sheriff didn't turn him over. Right, didn't turn him over to ICE. ICE said, "Let me know," and the sheriff released him without telling. So these guys are going to be held accountable. Now, I don't know if it's going to pass or not, but at least people should know the fact that this is a federal law, and you will be held accountable.
Good. I agree with that 100%.
I knew you would.
You knew. Let me see here. There's a big defiance of federal law.
That's right.
Okay? Sanctuary cities shielding illegal immigrant criminals. Over the last 2 years, 17,000 requests from federal law enforcement were ignored by authorities in sanctuary cities.
There you go.
17,000. Well, we all know that our former President Obama let all kinds of felons out of our jails onto our streets, illegal felons onto our streets. And probably some of these are in that 17,000. They're shielding, sanctuary cities are shielding dangerous criminals. They're making it easier for Islamic terrorists to operate inside of our borders, and they're putting American lives at risk.
That's correct. And this is why they're going to start doing it. And look what's happening with some of these police officers being shot by illegals.
Yep.
Okay? Because they go up for traffic stamps or the drugs and stuff like that, and they get shot. I mean, if I was a police officer, I would not go anywhere unless I had a backup with me.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Isn't it a shame?
And they should have a backup. Like that one person that I think it was that Jewish guy who was doing 60 miles an hour. He drove so long, and he tried to call the cop, over the holidays, and where he drove, I forget how far, and wouldn't stop because he thought he was being profiled or whatever what it was. I would have called for backup. Of course, they have the cam recorder, but he said, when you drive over 40 miles without stopping blue lights, you're breaking the law. Yeah. All right, and there's got to be a reason. I would have called for backup. Yeah. On him. Well, because you never know when he's going to step out and shoot you and then drive off.
It's really a crying shame that we have come to this point where there is so much lack of respect for the law. And that's why, folks, when I did my opening remarks, it's so important that our families teach our young children about respect for themselves and about respect for others, respect for the law, and so forth. Because respect is critical to obeying the law, doing the right thing. Personal responsibilities, another big thing. Anyway, I wanted to mention this, Don. This threw me for a loop, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. The gun prohibition lobby is stealing a page from the playbook of anti-gun rights extremist Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, a Democrat from New York, that would force all gun owners in every state to have mandatory gun liability insurance or face a fine of up to $10,000. This is unbelievable. Gun owner insurance.
I don't think that's going to pass, but that's stupidity in its most, because the Republicans do control the House and the Senate unless they went over, but that is one stupid law.
Well, I think that if there comes a vote on this bill in Congress, that our Vermont congressmen and senators would be very wise not to support that bill, because we have a lot of gun owners in Vermont.
I have actually called down to a couple of those offices, and I said, just ask him if he remembers the name Peter Smith. And that's all I say, because that's what happened to Peter Smith.
Yeah, was that about guns?
Yep. That was Brady's bill, Brady's Act.
Oh,
okay?
yes. He voted for it?
He promised the Vermonters that he would not vote for any gun control. And he voted for Brady's bill. And that's how Bernie Sanders got in.
Well, this comes right to the heart of the Constitution.
Right.
The Second Amendment gives us the right to keep and bear arms and to protect ourselves and our families. And the only people, if they ever passed a law like that, the only people who it would be the non-law abiding people who would not abide by this law and get the insurance. All the good law-abiding folks would get the insurance. However, that's just one more regulation on the people of this country, and we're being regulated to death in so many ways.
Let me back it. Let me get something here real quick, because
Sure.
I wrote it down to back up what you're saying. Where did I write that down? Well, anyways,
We need to talk too about public lands.
yeah, we're going to go talk about it. I want to
I
get
don't know
this.
how much time we have left,
Okay.
but
Well, anyways, I think I can remember it. It talks about the Affordable Care Act. Over 13 million people preferred to pay the penalty than to pay for insurance. Okay?
because the insurance was too expensive.
Right. So, I mean, legislating people to do things that they don't want to do, they're not going to do it. And that lady's crazy, you know? I mean, she should be thrown right out of office.
Yeah.
For
well,
trying.
she's from New York.
Oh, yeah, in New York, that's another thing that with this tax bill out there, New York, California, and Illinois delegations were against it because they have high property taxes and social taxes there, where we don't have in these states, so they didn't want to pass it because their people would have to pay more taxes. Well, get on board and make your state cut taxes, all right? And cut taxes down there.
What? Cut programs?
Yeah.
What?
I know it. So we have to pay, we have to suffer because they're stupid enough to pay taxes. And most of those people in New York and I know people in California are leaving a lot. They're going to Arizona and other states to get away from taxes. So those states are actually losing population because of people. I was going to read about it, about Illinois. Over Thanksgiving, okay, I think there was 38 shootings and 7 deaths in Chicago. That's what I was looking for. And so, I mean, this gun control stuff that she's talking about is poo-poo.
Isn't going to change a thing.
No, it's all poo-poo.
Because the criminals are going to have the guns anyway. And the law-abiding people won't have them. They won't be able to protect themselves.
Well, it's just like I said before. That's why a lot of these other countries, when they look at us, we got over 300 million guns. Now, that's not even the Army, all right? Plus our military. This is normal citizens, over 300 million guns to fight off things. And that's why our founding fathers, because when England came here, you know, every farmer had a gun. So we did have the militia, but every farmer had a gun to protect themselves.
Well, that's right. And the other thing is, Don, that the founders knew that if government became too big, too powerful, too controlling,
take my guns and then shoot me. That's what happened.
Then the people are defenseless against their government. And if I were queen, which we all know I'm not, I would have every department of government audited, state and federal, and pull out the people who aren't doing their jobs, get rid of the ones who are breaking the law, whatever, and look at how efficient and effective the programs are based on their goals, the reason for being. And I wrote a letter recently to the governor with 4 items that need a lot of attention in this state, and that was one of them. And I would start by auditing the Agency of Human Services and the Agency of Education, where we are paying almost double the national average per pupil in this state. Blows my mind.
And we're turning out a bunch of idiots.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that our math and reading skills are not good. Reading is critical. Reading and math is important too. And so what are we doing? I have an idea what we're doing. We have a program for every little thing, and we're spending a lot of money on special needs, and we're not letting go of staff as the numbers of children shrink.
Right.
And what business can survive and thrive with that kind of a philosophy? When your business diminishes and you're not bringing in the money,
they call it layoff.
Yes, people are let go. So what's happening? It's the teachers' union.
Yeah. Before you leave now, I want you to comment on what's happening in Congress with the Democrats. I keep saying the lights are out in the auditorium for them. They're running. There's a bunch of rats running from high water, and they don't know what to do for all the shenanigans that their people are doing. They keep picking on the right people, and they're not even governing their own selves.
Well,
you think they should stay in Congress, these members?
No, but then again, Don, it comes back to we the people. Most people don't pay attention to what is going on. They don't have a clue. They hear it comes time for an election, and these people are telling them what they want to hear, but then they get elected, and the people don't pay attention to see if they're really following what they said they were going to do. So the accountability factor is missing, and so many of them, I believe, are beholden to special interests. I think they're making a lot of money, and I think it's not in the best interest of the people and the country at large. Why? Why? Give me a logical reason as to why any senator or congressman would not want to have a secure country.
I don't know, because I'd like to sit down and actually, in a form, ask each one-on-one is why. And because, but they'll probably put a spin on it, tell you what you want to hear, and then after elected, they forget and just do what they want. I know you wanted to talk about one other issue.
Okay, but I have to respond with something because you brought up something that stimulated a thought in my brain. What we have to do, again, folks, we the people, have to put pressure on our 2 senators and our lone congressman to come and hold public forums for the people to talk with them and ask questions and get feedback. When has that happened? I've not known about it.
Well, they did it over in the Northeast Kingdom after the election, because Donald Trump got a lot of votes. Remember when Pat Leahy, Peter Walsh, and Bernie Sanders went over there to try to save the troops? Because they all voted, like I said, 90,000 people voted for Donald Trump.
Well,
and Adam said, but you're right. When's the last time that they had a forum? And not just an hour. Not just
right.
an hour.
An afternoon.
An afternoon. It's, you know, because most of the time they come for an hour. You can't.
Oh, they come to cut a ribbon.
Right, and you can't really talk about, because in an hour's time, as you well know, this show's an hour long. You can't really talk a lot about a lot of issues. And if you get 100 people, 75, 80 might have questions, and that's going to take more than an hour to have answers and questions going on. So it should be a half a day, and have these people held accountable. I'm with you 100%.
Well, let's work on it.
Yeah.
Let's get a group of people to sign a
Petition.
a petition that we want to have our voices heard. After all, they're representing us, right?
Well, I hope they think they are.
Well, I don't feel represented.
Well, I think when they get down there, I think that they think they're self-employed. I really do. I really do. They get down there and they say, well, I don't need those people.
What happened?
I'm here for 6 years. Now they're all dumb enough. They'll forget in 6 years what I told them.
Well, yeah, we need to make it a priority to get them up here.
Yeah.
And to meet with us.
We're not that big a state either. This is what gets me.
No.
Well, we only have 626,000 people, but you notice they always stay like down in Burlington or Montpelier, those bigger areas. They don't get out in the rural areas like in Franklin County.
They only come when they manage like Leahy does.
Oh yeah, bringing you some money.
Yeah.
And if it was his money, I'd like it. But it's not his money. It's our money. He's giving away.
And all the $2 billion that through the years they've stolen from the Social Security Fund,
yeah.
They're not there for us. And they're not there for the betterment of the country at large.
Well, first of all, they don't have the same health insurance we have.
Nope.
They don't have the same pension plan that everybody else has. They have an expense account that some of them in Congress have used to get themselves out of jams to buy what they call hush money.
Yeah.
All right, and we pay for it. I mean, they go down there and we'd say, you're going to have this budget, and that's it. All right, and you're going to get this amount of money, and that's it. And you're going to be on the same dole and health insurance that I have, and you're not going to get lifetime payment when you leave.
Oh, please.
Okay, please.
Okay, so land use.
What does that mean?
Well,
I know they just did something big out in Utah that raised a lot of heck with a lot of people, and I'm in full agreement
So am I.
with Donald Trump, what he did. Give back the land to the people.
Absolutely. There is so much of an effort in this country for, again, big federal government to take over lands in our states. Okay? I remember several years back where there were 8 towns in the southern part of the state that were in the area of the Green Mountain Forest.
Of course, yeah.
And our delegation to Washington at that time wanted to expand the forest. And the people didn't want that to happen because it was going to raise their taxes, okay? Now, my view is I don't want the government owning, the federal government owning more of Vermont.
Right.
That's Vermont. And we should have control of that land. And now, why don't you explain what just happened out in Utah?
Well, it had all these monuments out there, and it was restricted. It was all governments. And so Donald Trump, I think he went out into like 30,000 acres to public land. So now farmers can go in there and graze and think that a lot of those farmers would get the money, would pay leases to have their cattle grade, which I agree with, but everybody can go out there and use it. And it's not controlled by the federal government anymore. It's got and the funny thing, all the delegation in Utah were in favor of turning that land back over to Utah.
State.
Right. So they'll take care of it, but everybody can do it. So they can drill on it. The government can't say anything. They can do anything they want. That's public land, and it's to be used for the betterment of public.
Of the people of that state.
That's right.
Yes.
Like I said, I've always said, the biggest people who have gripes are the American Indian who owned all that land, and we took it from them and put them on reservations. Those people have a real gripe against the government. But I was glad to see that. And I think there's, I think out in Nevada, remember that farmer who had all that grazing land for years?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Harry Reid went out there, and they want to make it all feds. And I hope that Donald Trump gets on that bandwagon and turns that land back over to those farmers out there in, where
was it
Vegas, Las Vegas,
Las
Nevada.
Vegas?
All right, to take that land back and give it back to the people.
Absolutely. If we don't own our own land, you know, there's enough encroachment on the individual homeowner's land, for crying out loud.
What's these 100 senators and 530 congressmen know about Vermont? Nothing. So why should they be making laws for us? We'll govern ourselves, because most people here want to keep this a Green Mountain state and going to treat the land good.
How about a Vermont law to prohibit windmills from being on our ridge lines?
Right.
Beautiful, beautiful ridge lines, a big attraction for people to come here and visit. And tourism brings a lot of money into the state. But if you take away the beauty of the landscape, people aren't going to be as enticed to come here, so we lose money.
Yeah, that's right.
Regulation after regulation after regulation. And we're down to the last minute and a half or so, but quickly, this new, what is it called? A place for boats to come in and dock?
Marina.
Marina. I have questions about that. Are boats going to come in and be bringing algae on their boats from other places? Are we just going to make the water situation worse? I don't know exactly. I guess it's for tourism purposes. I don't know.
But there is a law that when you go to, like, to Maine, New Hampshire, and stuff like that, you come back, you're supposed to wash your bottom of your boat and the engine so you won't bring that weed back.
How many people do you think do that?
Well, if they catch you coming in, there is a fine. But most, I'll be honest with you, I think most boaters, because I had a
meticulous.
I was a sailboater, and we always protected the water. And so most fishermen and boaters will abide by that law.
They're usually pretty meticulous.
They are meticulous about it.
Especially the nice boats.
Right, and especially the same thing as hunters. You know, what you bring in, you bring out. Most hunters, that's their rule.
And they're trying to control hunting, too. I mean, and lands where there are animals. I mean, it's terrible. We're not free anymore.
No, we're not.
And so it's time to fight back for your freedom, folks. That's my parting comment. I want to thank you for coming on again. You're always a wealth of information. I appreciate it. Folks, have a great week ahead. Christmas is coming. I hope you're going to have a blessed Christmas time, and I will see you again next week. Good night.